rap news, street politics, best hood channel on YouTube, and we back with another video on the most dangerous gangs. This time, though, we in the southeast side of the city, man. We doing Huntington Park, Bell, Maywood, Bell Gardens, Cudahy. We coming with it on the south side of the city, man. Now, I know some of y'all gonna be asking, where's Southgate at, Linwood? We're gonna be coming with them sections soon with the hoods that's really cracking in this section. But today, we touching on the section that's right between Alameda and the 710, man. Just south of East LA and north of Compton, Southgate, all of this. This section is gonna be notorious, man. And it's a section that not a lot of people be talking about. Really, it's because not a lot of motherfuckers be going over here if you ain't from here. You know what I'm saying? Now, it's gonna be some hoods on this list that everybody know about. And we know it's really a couple sets in this section that ring bells. I don't even have to say their name yet, man. And it's a couple small hoods in this section that's really putting it down against these bigger gangs, man. But a real notable thing that's going on this part of the city right now, some bodies have been dropping. It's a specific set of dudes that's been hunting. And it looks like they got two targets that they hunting, man. Now, before we get into the video, man, make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe. We got hella videos on the way. We touching on the most dangerous gangs in the city, and we gonna take this shit all the way to the IE. I know that's what y'all asking for. IE, Orange County, the Valley. We gonna touch it all, but make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell, and follow us on Instagram, man. We want to give a shout out to everybody that rock with the channel on YouTube. Y'all really helped us bubble up, and now we done bubbled up on Instagram, man. We appreciate all the love that's coming through from everybody that follow and subscribe to it. First up on the list, we got arguably the biggest gang in the city, Southside 18th Street.
That I drop on this mic, that shit is priceless. Rappers, yeah, I'm warning with this, I leave you lifeless. Out here rolling the dice on real life shit. Poverty real shit, I'll hold you tight as a vice grip. I know this bitch out Dago, she do a thing. She come and see me sometime, I throw her some change. I tell her, watch for these suckers, stay in your lane. You either dealing or a fiend, and that ain't gonna never change.
Now, when I say biggest gang of the city, some people talk about territory, membership. We talking about both. Man, slide through all our videos. How many times we done said 18th Street was in the section? These dudes in Pico Union, they in Westlake, they in Koreatown, they in Inglewood, they in Midtown, they in South Central. And right now, they got two parts in this side of the city, man. They got the Huntington Park set and they got the Cudahy set. Now, starting off with the Cudahy set, man, their main beef is gonna be with Cudahy 13. It's really only gonna be two sets in Cudahy, which is gonna be 18 and Cudahy 13. It's not a big city, but these two hoods right now are going crazy. They going at it. And like we said, man, it's a hood out here that's going hunting. And one of the sets that these dudes is hunting right now is 18th Street. Now, a couple months ago, between Bell, Huntington Park, and Cudahy, we had 4 murders in one night. Them 4 murders was split up into 2 sections. One murder happened in the 18th Streets in Cudahy, and another murder happened in the 18th Streets in the Huntington Park set. Now, the one that happened in Cudahy, this was a 14-year-old boy killed. And man, it said that he was already aligning himself with 18th Street. They said he was hitting it up, hanging out late night with the homies. And these dudes that I'm talking about that's going hunting, man, they got up with dude Sally. And this was on Live Oak, which is right in the middle of 18th Street hood. But to give y'all the boundaries of this set right here, you know, some say they go from Gage to Florence between Atlantic and Wilcox. Now, we're going to get to what's really popping right there. But I'm going to say, man, they really going to start on Florence and go all the way down to Santa Ana. Between the 710 and Atlantic, that's going to be all 18th Street right there. And that's where they beefing heavy with Cudahy 13. They got Clara Street, which is going to be an extremely popping street over here. But Clara and Wilcox, that's going to be the hot spot. Not too far from Live Oak Street, where these dudes found this young 18th Street member hanging out one night. And this area, man, is heavy patrol by them folks, man. And it's also a mini mart on Santa Ana and Wilcox, extremely active area where the beef is really jumping between Cudahy 13 and 18th Street. Now, not only are these dudes beefing with Cudahy 13, they for sure beefing with Florencia. And you know, that's a deadly war, man. These two juggernaut hoods right here going at it. It's really popping on this side of town between them two. They beefing with Maywood Locos, but a set that they really going at right now in a Huntington Park area is the Lott Stoners. And we gonna get to the Lott, man. Y'all done heard that name before if y'all seen it through that East LA video. But 18th Street and the Lott is really popping right now. At that Lee's Market on 61st and Gifford, man, it's jumping in this section. And on Bear Avenue, man, in this 18th Street hood, this is where another victim of that hunt took place, where them dudes found who they suspected to be another 18th Street member hanging out in this Huntington Park
I'm mixed
section.
in between emotions of feeling like I'm glad to be alive, but still saddened.
Brian doesn't want to show his face on camera out of fear a shooter could still be out there, but says he'd been smoking a cigarette with 24-year-old Kevin Parita late Sunday night on Bear Avenue when a dark red SUV rolled up.
They stopped right here and they were like, "What's up?" I thought they knew the person I was with. They said, "Where you from?" And then I just seen a pistol pull out, and they aimed at him. And I was like, "He's good, he's good, he's good, like he's good." And I just heard a pop, and I seen him fall, and then they aimed at me, and I was like, "I'm good, I'm good, I'm good." And I kind of flinched, and I don't know, they just missed me. I heard another pop, those 2 shots.
And then the same night that they found that 14-year-old, this dude met the same fate, sadly, on this part of town. Now, the interesting thing about this section right here, there was a hood called Crazy Wicked Sureños over here. Now, Huntington Park 18 or Bell 18, whatever you want to say, I'm going to say Huntington Park is going to go from Slauson to Randolph. But they took over Crazy Wicked Sureños hood. So they don't stop at Randolph. Now they going from Slauson to Gage. In between Atlantic and Loma Vista. But like I told y'all, on 61st and Gifford, that's going to be like the heart of their hood. And just west of that, past Loma Vista, that's where the Lott going to be at. And north of them is going to be Maywood Locos. Now, over here on 61st, man, we saw the police kill somebody, man. They were serving a search warrant, kill somebody when they busted into the house. The people inside thought somebody was flocking their crib. They met the police with a gun. The police popped them right here on 61st. So we know it's hella popping in this section. But back down in the Cudahy section, remember we told y'all Clara Street, man, Clara and Wilcox. Man, somebody ran up in the Circle K, killed the clerk over here. You know, it's popping. And this is something that's really jumping in the city lately, man, that we're going to touch on briefly. These young niggas with these 7-Eleven flocks, man. And it's really prevalent on the east side right now, where these young niggas hitting these 7-Elevens for $200. You know what I'm saying? Getting these robbery charges for $200 and shit, man. Hey, that shit out, man. With that many robberies, string of robberies like that, when that case get pulled up, man, that shit look ugly, especially for that amount of money, man. Motherfuckers got to get their shit straight, man. I know there's some young niggas that's doing that, but this flock of these convenience stores, man, that's not it. But this seemed to be another case where this dude got killed in this Circle K. Another dude was killed over here in their section off Park in the 18th Street hood. And like we said, man, where they hood start on Florence, it was a dude killed here on Vineville and Florence. It was a car crash, man, that the folks thought was just a simple car crash, but when they pulled dude out, he was full of bullet holes in this section, man. 18th Street is entrenched in a lot of beef, and we all know throughout the whole city, these dudes are extremely dangerous. But one thing about this area as well, there's no allies. Everybody's pretty much beefing with everybody. These are just 18th Street's main beef between the Lott, Maywood, Florence, and Cudahy. But it's really no word of these dudes getting along with anybody that's going to be on this list or any other hood in this section, man. Now, the next hood we got on the list is going to be an enemy of 18th Street, man. And it's pretty much going to be an enemy of everybody, man. I would say with the exception of like Walnut Street, but everybody in this side of town and across Alameda for the most part is going to be beefing with these dudes. We got Southside Florencia after that set.
This ain't no gunplay, cause I don't play with guns. I got an AK that spray a couple hundred drums. I got the city on my back, that's Los Angeles. Face of the city, yellow tape, don't need an ambulance. I got a hater living cheap, holding coattails, picking at his feet while he's tweaking at the hotel. These suckers little guns, I hold a face breaker. Better stay away from the plug, you got a pacemaker. I rep the F-Fort, see this a death sport. The only track you get on and hustle is when you escort.
Now, we touched on Florencia in our East Side, South Central video. We touched on that Florence Firestone section. This the Huntington Park side. And the only thing that separates these two sets is Alameda, man. But the key thing about Florence is they got so many different cliques that stretch from Florence Firestone all the way to Bell. We touched on A5 block over there across Alameda, man. The Malditos in their Florence Firestone section. This side of town, man, Bell, We got Bear Street. That's a really popping clique that's going at it with all these dudes on this side of town right now. And there's a bunch of other cliques a part of Florencia, man. And another clique of Florencia, man, is going to be Live Oak Street. And you may see that LOST written on the wall. Now, originally, these dudes was their own hood, but like we said, F13 liked to soak up. Live Oak Street had a really good relationship with F13 and ended up becoming a part of Florencia, even though they still represent themselves as Live Oak Street and put it down for Florence, man. And this clique gonna be in between Cudahy, Bell, and Huntington Park as well. And in this tenure, man, Florence has like 30 cliques. These dudes are extremely deep. And this is another set that's gonna rival some of the hoods that's been around the city for the longest. Florence been around since the 50s. And some hoods that was around at that time that they had a longest standing beef with is gonna be sets in Watts. Watts Body O'Grape, beefing with Florence since the 50s or the 60s. Elm Street Watts, beefing with Florence. But F13 is also gonna be beefing with Mortontown Watts and Aztlan 13. But the key thing is Florence is really gonna be beefing with everything in Watts. We could say they Watts K, man. But on this side of Alameda is where Florence is gonna control arguably the most of its territory. We're gonna say from like Slauson to Broadway, just a broad view of how far they stretching. Slauson to Broadway. Now some of their section is gonna go all the way back to Salt Lake Avenue, down Florence, which is gonna be in the middle of their hood. Florence is their strip. Pretty much Florence is a strip on this side of town, period. But some of their other sections that's closer to Bratz is gonna be from Alameda to Miles. But nonetheless, man, if you know the scope from Slauson to Broadway, you know that's a lot of territory to be covered. And they Bear Street clique in Bell is gonna go from Atlantic to Salt Lake Avenue between Bell and Florence. This is just one side of Florencia, and they beefing with everything out here, man. Now, another key thing about Florence, man, they got a lot of key members that was active participants in the early days of the Mexican Mafia. Again, Florence is gonna be one of the oldest hoods out here. They had the 13 on their name before the Mexican Mafia existed. So please believe they've had a lot of members that have had a lot of pull inside them walls. Now, one notable thing that we touched on in that Eastside South Central video is they beef with East Coast. Now, that was said to have happened or started in like 99, 2000 when some dudes from the Six Pack took some of Florence dough. They ran off, and like we said, them dudes behind the wall called them shots, and that's what started the beef. That's pretty much lasted like 20 years, man. And we spoke on Lil Doc. It was Lil Doc, some other key members of East Coast, got together with some key members from Florence and cleaned that shit up. But that's nowhere near the end of Florence's beef. Florence has been known to soak up a lot of hoods around them. And when you try to make power moves like that, you're gonna have a lot of hoods that wanna fight back against you trying to soak them up. Hoods like the Bratz, Huntington Park Locos, who they all beefing with. They also beefing with crazy ass Mexicans, man. Cam is in this section. We gonna touch on them. They beefing with Maywood Locos. They beefing with everything in the city. Like I said, man, it's really no unity on this side of the city. Everybody's going at it. But like we touched on when we talked about 18th Street, that second hood that's being hunted right now is Florencia 13. So like we said, it was 4 murders in one night. 2 of them dudes was from 18th Street. 2 of them dudes from Florence. Now them dudes that was doing that slide, they slid to the Huntington Park 18, slid to Cudahy 18. Then they slid up to Huntington Park, Florence, and they hit somebody in the 6300 block of Santa Fe Avenue, allegedly. Now Santa Fe's gonna be an active street in Florence hood. Really from Randolph all the way down to Broadway, man, that Gold's Liquor that's over there, right where they beefing with Aztlan. Santa Fe's an active street. So after they did that work on Santa Fe, them dudes slipped past Alameda on to Florence and found somebody else that they may have believed was from Florence. And they did they shit right there too. So it's no coincidence. In one night, 4 murders, 2 18s, 2 Florences. We can agree it's somebody that's beefing with both their hoods. Now the shit is, 2 dudes originally went down where they said they saw a Honda Pilot on video at each one of the murders. 2 dudes went down for 4 murders. It came to light, allegedly, that 2 more dudes was involved. One of them was a 17-year-old, young dude. Another one 20 years old. 6 murders all together, allegedly. So not only did they pull this 4 in one night, but they was also linked to 2 other murders to make that a total of 6 in this section with this same group of dudes that the police have said are active gang members. Now again, we could positively say a set that's beefing with 18th Street and Florencia at 13 is trying to hunt them dudes this year, man. Now, LAPD got 4 dudes in custody for sliding, man. And this shit just happened in February. 4 murders in February. The other 2 was like November, something like that. But all recent shit, it's potentially going to be some crazy developments that's made in these cases. And we're going to see exactly who this hood is that's putting in that work. But like I said, since there's no allies, Florencia beefing with Mortontown, Aztlan, the Bratz 13, Lott 13, 18th Street, crazy ass Mexicans, Maywood Locos. Ain't no telling who got a chip on their shoulder looking to get these dudes. Now, another thing, man, Money Sign Sway. It was said Money Sign Sway wasn't a gang member, but he was fucking with some dudes from F13. Now, we all know what happened to Money Sign Sway when he went behind them walls, man. Some tragic events occurred, and he didn't make it out of Soledad. And crazy enough, man, it was right before his release date. We spoke on this in another video. You know, when these dudes get off the street and go to prison, that 13 becomes super aligned. And, you know, not aligning with that 13 could have bad and deadly consequences, as we see in this situation. Now, of course, that's just speculation and what the streets is saying about some extortion shit with Money Sign Sway or, you know, some misalignment with him and his gang ties. But nonetheless, man, Money Sign Sway didn't make it back home to this part of the city. He's from Huntington Park. But overall, man, Florence is going to be one of these hoods that's also under massive gang injunctions. Now, if y'all don't know what the gang injunction is, man, just to make it quick, when your set's super popping, we talking indictments, potentially federal indictments, trafficking. Of course, we know what bring them people out, the bodies, the money. The folks put sections under indictments where they'll hem documented members up just for hanging out in the section with each other, documenting tattoos, really trying to break up the core of a set. And F13 has probably been under a heavy indictment for many years, man. But that's going to be something that's really popping on this side of town, man. These gang injunctions and these gang task force are really trying to clean this shit up. And you can kind of tell that when you move around the southeast side of the city, especially in Bell Gardens. The police trying to get a grip, but these sets on this side still want to get cracking, man. Now, there was a couple more murders in this Florencia section, aside from them other people getting chipped. There was a man killed on Gage in Malabar. That was back in December, but recently, there was another dude beat to death on Pacific and Slauson. But mind you, like we said in that East Side South Central video, Florence is going to have the most deadliest park in the city, man, Roosevelt Park, right next to one of their enemies that we're going to touch on this list. But the murders get piled up in this section, man. That's just to say the least. Now, the next hood on the list, man, is going to be in a city called Maywood, just east of Bell. Man, really around the corner from this F13 Bear Street clique. We got Southside crazy-ass Mexicans to that say, man, Cam.
Posted on the block with the homies, low riders and burners in the cut, low key. Seen your homie, then he ran with a motherfucking pony. They know that I'm the one, you could call me a hood trophy. Loafing with your homie, we gon' turn you to a trophy. Big bank peso, bought a truck in a rollie. Fly with PK, yeah, nigga, that's the Brody. And if you trippin', we gon' smoke you.
Now, we touched on the Camsters heavy. Had a major part about Cam when we touched on Boyle Heights in that East LA video. Know a lot of y'all seen that, man. Off Fickett Street. This gonna be Southside Cam, man, and they jumping in this section. Now in Maywood, these dudes gonna go from Slauson all the way down to Florence, between Atlantic and the 17 as well. A lot of hoods gonna border Atlantic. But the reason these dudes go from Slauson to Florence is because they gained some territory, man. There was a hood between Gage and Florence, between Wilcox and River Drive, that a set called Chancellor Street occupied at one time. Now, Chancellor Street was pushed out by Walnut Street, that hood we told y'all the F13 was kind of cool with. Now, Cam pushed Walnut Street out this section, man, and took over this area between Gage and Florence. 6932 Chancellor Ave, man. Y'all gonna see that in that PK Keep It a Million video.
What you know about this life, you keep thinking this shit real nice. Them boys creeping up at midnight while you sleeping in all night. Get this money, chase the bag, make sure your pocket's always right. Turn it on the grandpa licks, that shit don't get you any stripes. Bunch of slumps always slipping, all you know is to get high. By the time you even notice, you ain't got no more life. I can see it in your eyes, you're scared and know it's not alright. You can run and duck, but I promise you that you can never hide.
And a shout out PK, man. We fuck with PK for real, man. We seen them doing this thing in the city, man. And we fuck with a lot of rappers that's coming out the city that a lot of people may not know about. No matter what hood these dudes is from, man, we trying to shed light on rappers from these hoods in LA, man. Get their name out there to people in the city and outside the city so they can keep bubbling up, find a pathway out the streets, get money, get their views, subscribers, followers up. And we go support that shit on the channel, man. No matter where you from, we see you representing your shit. And a lot of dudes have ended up in a lot of our videos like that. And man, again, we appreciate the subs going to fuck with them. They like their music, they going to fuck with them. But PK is one of them dudes, man. Now, just east of Wilcox, between Atlantic and Wilcox, Cudahy 18 is supposed to be occupying this area right here between Gage and Florence. Now, like I said, 18 is pretty much going to be underneath Florence, but it's a section right on the other side of Atlantic where a hood called Southside Loma Vista 13 kind of used to exist, man. And that's right on top of Florencia's Bear Street clique between Salt Lake and Atlantic. Now, Cam is going to be beefing with Florencia for control of this area right here. We know what Cam like to do. We know what they did to the Sentinel boys in East LA. They trying to expand. And we know what Florencia like to do. They want to expand. They want to soak up shit. So these dudes is beefing for Loma Vista Place right now. And then you got this 18th Street hood also in the middle of that, trying to bleed across Florence and go up to Gage. So this section is a hot spot right here. But the heart of this Cam hood is going to be El Paraiso Market. They also going to be at Riverfront Park. 5 o'clock liquor is a main hangout for these dudes as well. And another interesting thing, man, they got more cliques than Eastside Cam and Boyle Heights. They got Fillmore Street, which is going to be their main clique, 60th Street, the Criminals, and the Down Sick Winos, which was a major tagging crew back in the day that turned to be a part of Crazy Ass Mexicans. Heliotrope Market is also going to be in these dudes' section. And Heliotrope is going to be a border for one of their main enemies, man. Southside Kansas Street 13. We're going to touch on Kansas Street, but these dudes beef heavy with Kansas Street as well. But right now, like we said, F13, Kansas Street, and Maywood Locos are going to be their main enemies, but they also pretty much beefing with everything in Bell Gardens. And they got a Quinn Street clique in Bell Gardens. Like we said, man, Cam is all about expansion. And these dudes be doing a good job at doing it as well, man. Now, we seen some murders over here in this section. Now, this is really on the borderline of Cam and a hood called UMK, Unstoppable Mexican Kings. Now, UMK is going to be a hood that's dying out, man. There's a couple hoods out here that's dying out. UMK is one of them, man. You don't really see these dudes outside like that. Their recruiting is not too strong. Their young life is not there. In their section, they got a hood called Maywood Park, just across Slauson. 28-year-old man killed over here. And that was just earlier this month. Another man killed on 61st and Walker, damn near in the middle of Cam Hood. And another man killed on Gage and Atlantic, bordering that Cam, 18th Street, and F13 hood. Like I said, it's going to be a crazy area where a lot of dudes is trying to soak up sets. Because, like I said, 18th Street already picked up Crazy Wicked Sureños over here. F13 and Cam beefing for Loma Vista Place. Unstoppable Kings just north of Cam is dying out. And then we got FIU fucking it up to that set. Them dudes is also dying out, man. The FIU, that may be notable for some dudes that's following this current rap scene right now with Peso. Now, one of Peso's videos, man, he shot that video in the middle of FIU hood. And this is why some people thought that Peso may have been from Maywood Locos. Hell, some people even thought Money Sign Sway was from Maywood Locos. But he's not, man. Peso is from Eastside Rabbit Gang, Eastside Playboys, over there in South Park by the Phi Tre Avalons. But he's from this part of town. And again, he filmed that 6-block music video in FIU hood. But FIU's historically known to beef with Maywood Locos and Kansas Street. But just like UMK, they dying out as well, man. Not too many of their members is outside. A lot of shit may be changing between these two hoods on this part of town. Like I said, there's also heavy gang injunctions. So it's a lot of shit to watch out for in the southeast of the city. But before we get to the next hood, we got to get a word for the sponsor, man, the BentleyBaeMeme coin, man. In the beginning, there was Bitcoin, Ethereum, then Solana, and meme coin came to shake the game up. But still, man, something was missing at that point. That something was the BentleyBaeMeme coin. The first meme coin on Solana Network offering a unique cash giveaway, $200,000, man. To buy, download Phantom Wallet, buy your Solana Search BBM on Radium, connect your wallet and make a play of a lifetime, man. That token in your hand with 1,000x, along with a chance to win $200,000 in cash. The BentleyBae saga continues. Every meme needs a ride, man, so own a piece of history. Now, the next hood on the list, we back in Huntington Park with it. Now, these dudes gonna be right next to Florencia, a set that they're gonna be beefing extremely hard with, between Randolph and Florence and State Street and Miles Avenue. We got Southside Bratz 13, man. Traviosos 13. TBZ, man. Now, Traviosos in Spanish means brats. This is why these dudes is called the Bratz 13. And I know I see a lot of people asking why they call it that. I think they went by the name the Dirty Dozen back in the day. But now these dudes is repping the Bratz gang. And man, they trying to control this territory, like I said, between Randolph and Florence against Florencia. Because like we said, man, Florence likes to try to soak up hoods like this and make them a part of F-13. TBZ wasn't having it. Now, TBZ not only has this clique in Huntington Park, but they also got a Bell Gardens clique. Now, that Bell Gardens clique is going to be between two hoods, man, that are really popping sets in East LA that aren't really outside in Bell Gardens. That's going to be Vadio King Cobra and White Fence 13, man. TBZ Bell Gardens is going to be in between them sets. And man, we just don't see the same kind of action that we see from King Cobra and White Fence in Boyle Heights that we see in Bell Gardens again. Bell Gardens gang unit is trying to put it down. They trying to shut a lot of this shit down. And it's only a couple hoods in Bell Gardens that's really being cracking. And I'm gonna be honest, TBZ's Bell Gardens clique isn't as hard, isn't as active as they Huntington Park clique, but that's also because of their enemies. They right next to Florence, beefing with them dudes. Right next to Huntington Park Locos, but HP Locos, man, is also not really gonna be a set that's very, very active outside. Now, we've seen them dudes a little bit, but Salt Lake Park, them dudes is not, they're not really hanging out like that. They could also potentially be dying off, man, with not getting heavy recruitment. But these dudes will really be on like Hood Engage and George's Market over there in that HP Loco set. And in this TBZ section, close to this TBZ section, which is really in the King Cobra, it was a man that was killed over here in Bell Gardens off Gallon and Gefford. Now, that's saying that's KK Hood, but it's not too far from this TBZ in Bell Gardens. Now, these dudes are also going to be beefing with JBI, and JBI is going to be another set that's inactive, man. They not outside. JBI and Junior Mafia, them sets in Bell Gardens, it's not popping with them dudes right now. I know JBI is trying to hold on to it, and Junior Mafia used to be a heavy name, but they not really popping. But the Bratz, man, they going to be heavy around Gage and Miles, Clarendon Avenue. And that dude Trouble from Brownside was from here as well, man, that rapper from Brownside. He currently right now in Pelican Bay on the murder charge. So, TBZ is a well-known set on this part of town, but this could be one of them sections that a lot of you guys aren't familiar with if you're not from this part of town. Now, also in they Bell Gardens clique, man, we seen a man killed on Live Oak Street by Ira Avenue. And coming out that 18th Street hood across Clara Street, we told y'all Clara Street was extremely active, man. Past the Clara Street Bridge into Bell Gardens, which is going to be borderline King Cobra hood, TBZ hood, and Southside Playboy hood. A man was killed right there off the bridge. Now, like we said, Playboys is here too. They in Bell Gardens between Clara and Quinn. But like I said, man, they section is not typical of what you see from other Rabbit Gang sets throughout the city, man. It's just a little different in Bell Gardens. But nonetheless, man, TBZ is still holding their own against Florencia and the rest of their enemies that they got between Huntington Park and Bell Gardens. Now, the next section on the list, man, is just going to be down a little bit from this TBZ area, man, down Florence. We got Cudahy 13.
We wicked. Anybody kill it. Active as a motherfucker.
A set that's also looking to take over territory. From Florence to Cecilia, on the train tracks from Salt Lake all the way to Atlantic. This is Cudahy territory, man. The main part of their hood is going to be that street that we keep bringing up. One of their main cliques, Clara Street. Now, all down Clara Street, when you pass Atlantic, this is where they running into 18th Street at. Wilcox. That whole strip right there, man, that's where they looking to push in the 18th Street hood. They looking to come through on Santa Ana and on Live Oak. Man, we done seen Cudahy 13 all the way in Cam section, looking for beef. They also beefing with Florencia and Kansas Street. But man, right now they want all the smoke with Barrio 18, man. Another street these dudes gonna be really active on is Atlantic and Elizabeth. Some of their main spots gonna be Frank Market and Latinos Market #1. They also gonna be at Lugo Park. And along with the Clare Street clique, they got the BLS clique and they got the TLM clique. But one thing about Cudahy that I say, man, these dudes is outside trying to play ball. That's what we see for sure, man. A lot of 18th Street, like I said, 18th Street is heavy beefing with Lott at Lee's Market. But over here in Cudahy, they control a lot of territory, but you really gonna see these dudes mostly past Wilcox. Cudahy 13 is trying to push their hood across the Atlantic all the way to Wilcox. They kind of want to smash 18th Street between Wilcox and the river, man. They want to close in on them dudes over there. Now, we said 18th Street, very strong hood. They got two sides in close proximity to each other in this part of town. So if Cudahy's successful, I can't say, but I know they outside trying to play ball with it. Now, as we touched on, man, Cudahy is not a big city. It's a very small city, and it's only 2 sets in it. Now, Cudahy began because 18th Street was growing real rapid, man, and all the other hoods in Cudahy was broken up, dysfunctional. So a few hoods, cliques, and crews got together to form C13 and Lil Mob Gang. But 18th Street is the original set in this section. It was a man killed recently in Cudahy hood on Cecilia and Atlantic. But this is also not far from where that 14-year-old got killed in that night when multiple people got hit, man. This area is still hot. We right next to Florencia. And these hoods is going to border some of the gangs in Southgate. Again, we're going to get to Southgate, but we got more to touch on in these sections. Now, the next set on the list, man, is going to be another set between Florence and Broadway. Now, before y'all start in the comments, this technically is not Huntington Park, Bell, Cudahy, Maywood. But the only thing that's going to separate this set is Alameda. They border is going to be Alameda, but they're on the west side of Alameda. This is a hood that we didn't put on in our East Side South Central video. But with the proximity and the beef to this section we covering, we got to throw them in here, man. They active as fuck, small hood. It's gonna be Southside Aztlan 13.
Throwing hands, sagging pants, living by the G code, representing every second, yeah, we on the west coast, rocking blue head to toe, keep a pole for the foes, and for those who don't know, we got smoked by the load. Bakersfield, Cali living, nowhere else can match the feeling. Stood up on 77, big chillin' and sippin', main character vibes, but I mean the villain, who be looking so fly.
Now the key thing with Aztlan, man, is that they gonna be beefing extremely hard with F13. This section is technically Florence Firestone. But like I said, man, if you coming from Huntington Park on Florence, as soon as you cross Alameda, you in Aztlan hood. If you in Huntington Park on Broadway, as soon as you cross Alameda, north of that is gonna be Aztlan hood. But like I said, the key thing about these dudes right here, they're not gonna be a big set. They don't control a lot of area, but they looking to get extremely active with F13. Now, when we talked about F13 having the deadliest park, Roosevelt Park, that park, the back of that park is off 76, in between Graham and Whitsett. 76, just past Whitsett on Crockett, man. It's gonna be the middle of Aztlan hood, man, Latinos Market. And from there, from 76 down to Lou Dillon, man, this shit is cracking. A no-go zone in this area. Anything on Lou Dillon, man, Murder Alley, back here on Lou Dillon, all the way from 76th Street to Nadal Street. Now, like we said, Latinos Market is going to be a main spot for these dudes. Walnut Market is going to be the borderline between Florence and Aztlan. But they also going to be at Twins Fruit Market. Man, this area is a hot spot, a true no-go zone. These dudes going to have clicks on 73rd, 76th, and 77th. And these streets are also going to be some clicks that Florence has. I believe they have a 76 click. But them being right next to Roosevelt Park and to the south of them, Mortontown Stoners, who they also beef with, it's a reason why the bodies is piled up in this section. Like we talked about on that East Side South Central video. Roosevelt Park has accounted for like 5-6 homicides in the last year at this park alone, between the same sets. Now, Aztlan used to have a west side set like Mid-Wilshire. These dudes are not active anymore. South side Aztlan gonna be their most active side. And like I said, these dudes also gonna be beefing with Mortontown. And Mortontown's also gonna be beefing with F13. We covered Mortontown when we covered our East Side South Central video. But Mortontown's technically gonna be Mortontown Watts. Aztlan's also beefing with 18th Street, and they're going to be beefing with PBS, man, Rabbit Gang. So Aztlan, even though they don't control a lot of territory from Florence down to the Dow and between Walnut and Alameda, these dudes are extremely active, and they holding their own in the middle of their enemy hood. They dead smack in the middle of their enemy go hood. So that's why they had to get on this list. We had to bring them up. I know motherfuckers gonna say they not Huntington Park or whatever. Man, when you on Broadway in Santa Fe, like we touched at that Gold's Liquor in F13 hood, as soon as you bend the corner on Broadway, you gonna be in these dudes section. It's damn near Huntington Park. And it's also damn near Watts. And like we said, F13 is beefing with everything in Watts. So it comes as no surprise that these dudes gonna be going at it heavy with Florencia. Now, was a man killed on Bell and the Dow over here on the border of Morgantown and Aztlan recently. Like I said, more than 6 homicides in this area, man, less than 5 miles of turf. This area is cracking. 7-6 East Coast is over here. It's jumping. All this shit is not too far from each other. Like I said, Broadway is gonna go all through Florence Hood until you run into them train tracks on Salt Lake Avenue and you cross over into Cudahy Hood. So man, a lot of shit's gonna be connected in this south side part of town. Now the next hood on the list, we going back up to Maywood. A hood that's gonna be beefing with everything in Maywood. 18th Street, Lott, FIU. We got Southside Maywood Locos, Florencia.
No mercy on my enemies. Low riders in the bombers weed. We still sipping on the Tennessee. All my homies still on the street. I'm going back to Cali. I'm going.
Now Maywood Locos is gonna control a good amount of area above Slauson, man. From like Slauson to 52nd between Maywood Avenue and Gifford Avenue. But I'm gonna tell you, their main spot is gonna be all down Maywood from Fruitland to Slauson. That whole strip right there, extremely active with Maywood Locos. Maywood and 57, 56, 55th, 54th. This is why when you see them writing, sometimes they may write rolling 50s. Man, Maywood is getting cracking over here. And across Slauson is where they're gonna be bordered with La 13, 18th Street, and Gifford is gonna be the divider from them and FIU, fucking it up 13. Now another spot we see these dudes on Maywood, Los Carnales Market. These dudes are trying to get real cracking over here, but they also beefing with Kansas Street. Down Slauson, you can see these dudes striking out Kansas Street, Lott. They really trying to stay alive and keep their section cracking over here. Now, like I said, some dudes thought Peso was from Maywood, but he's not, man. All because of their beef with FIU. But Maywood do have some rappers that's in the city right now, man. And like we said when we touched on Cam, Maywood is also beefing with crazy-ass Mexicans. So they're not scared of the beef in this section. Now, to the west and to the north of them, it's going to really be like industrial buildings. So it's not too much going on. They kind of secluded once you get past Slauson and Maywood. But this is still an active set. Another thing, man, Maywood police, I don't really think they police force is active no more. I think they got disbanded. So I think Bell Police really patrols Bell and Maywood. You know what I'm saying? So that may give them the reins to roam free and do their shit against their enemies. But with no allies in sight, man, all these sets over here got their hands full with each other. And it's for sure cracking in Maywood. Now, the next hood on the list is also going to be in like Maywood Bell. Again, another hood off Slauson, between Slauson and Randolph. We got Southside Kansas Street 13. Now, Kansas Street got 2 sets, man. One in this Maywood Bell section and another one in Southgate. But this one over here between Cam and 18th Street and Bell, that's home base, man. That's always going to be their most active set. Now, these dudes' main beef is going to be with Cudahy 13. They beefing with Playboys. They for sure beefing with crazy-ass Mexicans. Beefing with Maywood Locos. And they beefing with FIU. Their main cliques is the Prospect Boys and 61st Street. Now, I say Kansas Street, this section is home base because this is where it get cracking at. Even though Kansas Street started in Southgate on Kansas Avenue, this is where they get cracking at, man. But a key thing about this area, man, most of these sets was putting on taggers, man. A lot of these hoods came from tagging crews. Not saying that Kansas Street did, but that was a big theme in this area, man. A lot of tagging has came out from the south side of the city. But in this Kansas Street Maywood hood, man, we seen a man killed in Atlantic and Randolph. Now, that's going to be the border of their hood. Between Cam, Kansas Street, and 18th Street, it's a lot of shit that's going down right there. Now, even though we don't see a lot of hit-ups from K Street over here, we do see them hitting up on Slauson, trying to beef it with Maywood. And they also beefing with FIU. But this section, man, between Slauson and Randolph is still gonna be cracking with Kansas Street. Now, another hood that we touched on in that East LA video, out of City Terrace, man, that's their East Side section. This is their South Side hood. We got TLS, the Lott 13, or some may know them as the Lott Stoners.
I danced with the devil and he showed me no mercy. At the age of 15, started packing the heat. I was raising East Coast where the bullets fly. Rest in peace, Temper Lokes, always in my mind. Feels like just yesterday we were getting high. No, it's too late to go back to the good old times.
Now, Southside Lott, man, is going to be different from Eastside Lott because of the territory. Eastside Lott has a gripper section over in City Terrace. Southside Lott, man, is going to be real tight-knit, but extremely active and is in a heavy war right now with 18th Street. They going to go from Slauson to Randolph, just like Kansas Street, and they going to share Maywood and go from Maywood to Loma Vista. Now, we told y'all 61st and Gifford, Lee's Market, TLS is trying to bleed through. They trying to expand their turf into 18th Street hood, man, beefing with them all the way on 61st and Gifford. But we see TLS outside trying to get active and play ball with these dudes. Now, they be at Roy's Liquor. I think that's back there on Maywood. But they also going to be beefing with Maywood Locos. But like I said, man, this area right here is extremely jumping. And when you're moving through these streets on 60th and 61st, you can see why, man. It's low-key a little grimy and gutter over here in the Lott hood. But they putting it down in this section and they fuck with their counterparts in East LA. That's a notable thing to note. So we know if Southside Lott is beefing with 18, Eastside Lott is also going to be beefing with 18th Street. But it's interesting to see a lot of these Bull Heights and East LA hoods have sections out here. Cam, Lott, King Cobra, White Fence. But I say the two that's most active and well-rounded are going to be Cam and Lott on the east side and the south side of the city. Like we said, what we seen in Bell Gardens with King Cobra and White Fence is pretty much not there anymore. Bell Garden Locos and WES is fighting for territory out there, and we about to touch on them dudes too. But White Fence not going to be active in Bell Gardens. Now, the next set on the list, man, we finally coming to really touch on Bell Gardens and what's really cracking in Bell Gardens. And to do that, man, we got to come back down to Gage. Over the bridge on Gage, the first section we going to touch on is Wicked Evil Sureños, or maybe known as When Evil Strikes, WES 13. Now, WES, man, we going to see them all across Bell Gardens. And like we said, man, it's only a couple sets that's really cracking out here in BG. Why? Because Gang Unit is coming down to crash on these fools. But we going to see WES beefing all the way from they hood between Watcher and Florence. Middle of it going to be Gage. They going to be beefing all the way down to the train tracks on Eastern and Garfield with Fostoria. So WES, man, Southside Wicked Evil Sureños is really going to be trying to put it down in Bell Gardens. Now, not only are they beefing with Bell Gardens Locos and Fostoria, but they also, man, they looking to expand. In all these areas that's dying off, like White Fence area in Bell Gardens, WES is over there trying to set up shop, as well as PBS, man. And we didn't really put PBS on this hood because in our next video towards Southgate, we're going to touch on where they really get cracking on the south side. But PBS is trying in Bell Gardens, man. But WES, man, is one of them sets that's really trying to make a name for themselves now. Marlowe Park is going to be one of their parks they're going to be kicking it at, man. Some youngsters up there off of Marlowe and Lubeck, man. They're going to be back there. But they really got started, man, when they took over a section on Loveland Street that used to be controlled by Bell Gardens Locos. Now, they've been beefing with BGLS since the 90s because of that takeover on Loveland Street. Little trap house takeover, and that's how WES got their start. They was a tagging crew before then, like a lot of these sets like we talked about. But the thing is, Bell Gardens Locos wanted WES to join, and man, that's going to be a common theme in a lot of these Sureño hoods. A lot of the bigger hoods was trying to soak up some younger tagging cliques, and them tagging cliques kind of fought back, went against the grain, and ended up bubbling up into their own hood. The same story with WES, which is the same story as Cam. Like I said, this is a common theme. And the 80s and 90s was really active for that shit to be happening. But I think they tagging crew was called Wild Evil Style, man. So they've been rocking with this WES shit for a long time. But WES, man, they putting it down in Bell Gardens. When you go to Bell Gardens, this is one of them hoods that you're going to see all over the place, from the top to the bottom, from Randolph to the train tracks, man. These dudes is outside. Now, the next set on the list, we got pretty much the biggest set in Bell Gardens. We got Southside Bell Gardens Locos 13. Now, BGS is not only going to be one of the biggest sets, but they also going to be pretty much one of the most active sets between about 3, I say, in Bell Gardens, man. But this is a set, man, that's looking to beef with Bell Gardens and hoods on the west side of the 710. Like we said, they going at it heavy with WES. They beefing with JBI. JBI really trying to beef with them, though, man. I think Bell Gardens is pretty much bigger than everybody. They beefing with Playboys. They beefing with everybody over here, man. And we done seen these dudes on Slauson. We done also seen these dudes all down Gage, trying to stretch outside of Bell Gardens and get their name outside. Now, this set is also known to beef with Video King Cobra. And like we said, if these hoods got counterparts like Video King Cobra does on the east side, BGLS beefing with the south side Video King Cobra, they more than likely gonna be beefing with the east side King Cobras as well. And east side King Cobras get cracking, man. So Bell Gardens isn't shy to get their hands dirty and beef. But they hood is gonna stretch from Randolph to Florence and between Eastern and Jaboneria. Now, Eastern, this isn't the same Eastern that we see in East LA. So you can't just take Eastern and get cracking and get straight to East LA. But this section isn't really that far from it. It's really like 5-10 minutes if you're on the 710. So like I said, these hoods are gonna be beefing with the east side and south side hoods as well. And they've also been known to beef with Walnut Street. But again, with Bell Gardens being attacked by gang unit, man, we got to stress that enough, man. Because when you come over to Bell Gardens, it's going to look a little weird, man, with all these sets that's supposed to be out here, but only a couple is really cracking. So BGLS is one of them sets that's cracking. Again, they'll stretch also from Randolph to the train tracks and the cities on the west side of them, man. So we got to give BGLS their credit for staying active in the midst of the bullshit, man. And the last hood on the list is going to be a hood that's at the bottom of Bell Gardens. We got Southside Fostoria Boys 13. Now, Fostoria, man, this is a small section. These dudes really only control one street, but they're technically between Cecilia and Shoal Street. But Fostoria is going to be right in the middle of them streets and between Eastern and Garfield, that little strip right there. These dudes are going to be active, man. I'm not going to lie. And like I said, they beefing with WES. They beefing with King Cobra, and I'm sure they beefing with the Playboys as well. But we also seen Fostoria beefing with 18th Street. So that Clare Street Bridge, man, when you go up Eastern off of Fostoria, just north, when you hit Clara, man, you're going to go over the bridge. You're going to be in 18th Street hood. So these dudes are not far from Cudahy. But we also got to give Fostoria Boys their credit for being outside, man. But nonetheless, like we said, we going to Southgate. We going to Linwood. We got way more shit to touch on. Rap news, street politics. Y'all stay tapped in with the most dangerous gangs in the sections around the city, the state. Hopefully we can go global with this shit, man. Like, comment, and subscribe. Turn your notification bell on. Good looking for everybody fucking with us on all platforms, man. We over 100K on all platforms. We still on the road to 100K on YouTube. So get up with us and stay tapped in.